Star receiver A.J. Brown remains at the center of trade conversations. In a story on ESPN.com Tuesday, Nick Sirianni indicated there was mutual interest between Brown and the team in continuing his career with the Eagles, but couldn't guarantee it. Yesterday at the Combine, Patriots head coach Mike Vrabel, who Brown played for 3 years in Tennessee, talked about what that relationship means to him.
It has meant a lot. I've watched him grow. I've watched him mature. I'm proud of him. Proud of the father that he is. I'm proud of the husband, and that has nothing to do with where he plays and where he played. So those are the things that are important. We reach out and text each other during the things that happen good to each other, and sometimes things don't go so well for the people that you're close with, and you text those as well. So it's a two-way street of support and reminders of what got us to where we are here today.
Okay, and so where we are here today, Schrager is in Indianapolis with his ear to the ground on everything. Harry is back from yesterday, but Dan, we've not heard from you in quite some time. And so the first question is to you: should the Eagles be looking to move away from A.J. Brown?
I don't think you're running towards that if I'm Philadelphia, but you have to ask this question and answer it. Why the fall off last year between A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts performance-wise? From 2022 to 2024, that combination was top 3 or top 4 in the NFL in basically everything. They were fantastic. Last year, massive fall off. So if you're Philly and you're looking at the situation, was it because of Kevin Patullo, their play caller, or is there a different reason? Is A.J. not the same player? Is the connection between him and the quarterback not the same? If that's the case, then you got to move off him. And if you decide to move off him, if I'm New England, if I'm Baltimore, if I'm Buffalo, I'm doing everything I can to not hang up that phone without acquiring A.J. Brown.
And then, Harry, you're reading body language, you're reading books perhaps during while the defense is out on the field, which we've seen, and all the rest of that. Do you feel like A.J. Brown is looking, whatever it is he says, and he's not, he'll say whatever he'll say. Do you think that he would be best served finding a new team?
Yes, it would be best served. I don't know if that's going to be best for the Philadelphia Eagles, though. Howie Roseman went on the Rich Eisen show the other day, and he basically said this: we went 11-6 and we won the NFC East. Yeah. But that's not our standard. Our standard is a Super Bowl. So Howie Roseman is in the business of winning. Also look at a new offensive coordinator, a first-time offensive coordinator in Sean Mannion. And you got to look at the systems of where he came from. He came from the system for Matt LaFleur. He's played for Sean McVay, Kevin O'Connell, that Shanahan-McVay type system. Well, A.J. Brown thrived in that system when he was in Tennessee under Arthur Smith. And Matt LaFleur was there. Arthur Smith got the offensive coordinator job after that, still ran the same type of system. So I'm saying to myself, I think A.J. Brown's still top 5 wide receiver in the league. Why would I want a guy with a first-time play caller to exit my team when I know he can help my team based on what he's going to be running offensive-wise? All
right, Schrager's in Indianapolis, obviously, where everybody this is the best place in the world for guys like you, Peter, to get as much information as possible. So what are you hearing about A.J. Brown?
Yeah, and a lot of the conversations are had in hallways and bars and in restaurants, and a lot of the talk was about A.J. Brown yesterday. And I'll tell you this, there is a difference in tone from the trade deadline when Howie Roseman said to everybody, absolutely, off the table, we're not trading A.J. Brown, to here in Indy, where it seems like he's almost saying, well, I'll never just say no to listening to offers. A.J. Brown's Twitter handle is always open. Well, Howie Roseman this time of the year is always listening. Mm-hmm. That's his mantra. Offer me. What do you got? Truth of the matter is, it is cost prohibitive for them to trade him before June 1st. That's a $40 million dead cap hit. So there are financial barriers here for the A.J. Brown trade. And to Harry's point, Sean Mannion was one of 17 different offensive coordinator candidates who proposed their plan to the Eagles. 17. He was one of just 7 to make the second round. He showed them cut-ups of how his offense, which is play-action heavy, would work with the personnel that they have there in Philly. That includes A.J. Brown. Howie's always looking to make a deal. He's the best in the business when it comes to that. But he also likes to add, not subtract. The trade of A.J. Brown, they would need something back, and also it would be a really big financial hit.
Yeah, I'm with the financial hit. We know that the NFL, if you want to make a move, you make a move. Here's the thing. One, A.J.'s always been a man beater. He's killed man coverage. He didn't do that last year. Philly has to answer the question of why. The second thing is this, when it comes to system and scheme and is Philly going to be better, let's say he stays a Philadelphia Eagle and things once again don't go ideally. That'd be 3 years in a row if you're Philadelphia dealing with some stuff of that when it comes to AJ. The tweets, the books, the sideline. I'm a huge A.J. Brown fan. Let's make that very, very, very clear. But you got to ask yourself as an organization, do you want that at least potentially for another year?
I said it yesterday. Think of the Jedi mind trick that they played on all of us. That man was reading a book on the sideline during games, and they had us all convinced it was fine. It's just nothing. That's just his outlet. Okay. That's just how he handles things. I know they've been playing the game for 100 years, and no one else has ever read a book on the sideline while the game was going on. But there's no problem here. There's nothing to be worried about. It was actually kind of genius on their part that the rest of us looked at it and said, okay, yeah, I guess they have a point.
Yeah.
What not?
And what happens if in September there are growing pains? It's a new offensive coordinator.
Right.
What happens then?
I don't know. Maybe he'll have to go read a book that's a roadmap to another place, like New England or Buffalo or some other place where they could use a wide receiver. Orlovsky has been off since the Super Bowl, so he's got a whole bunch of hot takes that he's been cooking up for the last couple of weeks, and let's hear some of them. Dan Orlovsky, start us off with a trade you want to see happen.
The Los Angeles Rams have to go back a couple years ago, take one of those first-round picks and trade for Max Crosby. This is a Super Bowl football team. You are a player away on the defensive side, a difference maker from being better than Seattle. If you take Max Crosby and you put him with Young and Turner and Fisk and Puna Ford, now we got a defensive line that you could look to Seattle and be like, hey, we're just as good, if not better than yours. The Rams, I know the future quarterback question mark, that doesn't matter. Go trade for Max Crosby.
Yeah, one championship is invaluable, and he would be a huge piece in it. So much talk, and I want to bring Schrager in from the Combine, because Schrager, so much talk about Max Crosby. Is he available? Is he not available? What are you hearing about those possibilities?
It's real that there's a lot of talk about Crosby here at the Combine. I would also add that he has been rehabbing in Vegas in the facility every single day. General Manager John Spytek said this week that he talks to Crosby via text daily and that they are in a very good place. I think from the Rams' perspective, this is an absolute no-brainer. From a Raiders' perspective, you're building anew. There's very few cornerstone pieces in that franchise. Max Crosby's that guy. Mendoza will be the other one. I'd be shocked if they traded him anything less than like 3 first-round picks.
Okay, the 3 first-round picks would be quite the haul. We'll see what winds up happening. Dan, give me another one. Give me one on the Dallas Cowboys.
I think the Cowboys are 2 defensive pieces away from being legit contenders. This defense was obviously historically bad last year. A lot of reasons of the why. They've got 2 really good defensive tackles. They need an edge player and a back-end player that are difference makers. This offense in Dallas will be a top 5, top 6 offense once again next year, as long as Pickens is there. I'm bullish on the Cowboys. I truly believe with the new defensive coordinator and 2 difference-making pieces on their defensive side, the Cowboys can be legit contenders.
What do you think, Harry?
Yeah, I think it's going to take about 3 or 4 different pieces defensively. I do love Christian Parker, their new defensive coordinator. His specialty is the secondary. We got to remember, Donovan Wilson, he's a free agent. You're going to need multiple pieces in that secondary, I believe. And let's not forget the linebacker position. They have like 3 or 4 guys at linebacker that are free agents too. So I just don't want to ignore that position as well, Dio.
All right, and then Dan, let's get to the last one because this is the one that really jumped off the page at me. What are you thinking about in Minnesota?
You need a starting quarterback. That has to be the mindset in Minnesota right now through free agency and then into the draft. We have to bring in a starting quarterback. I understand J.J. McCarthy's there. I still am in support of J.J. McCarthy, but the lack of health and availability matched with just the lack of not playing at a high level consistently enough has got to get Kevin O'Connell and that organization's attention. You got to win in this league. They got a Hall of Fame wide receiver. They have to have the mindset we are bringing in a starting quarterback in the next 2 months.
Look, this is a team that won 14 games, what is now 2 years ago, won 9 games last year with dreadful quarterback play. You made that point repeatedly yesterday, and it's clearly true. So they're close. They're not that far. They should be thinking championship-esque kind of thoughts. Peter, what sense are you getting there about what Minnesota is thinking relative to its quarterback situation?
Well, their general manager from a year ago is no longer working for the team. And I think the cardinal sin was not about paternity leaves or issues with the head coach. The cardinal sin was letting Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones out of that building when they both were in the building last year. They have to remedy that. J.J. McCarthy was given the benefit of the doubt last year coming off the injury that he was going to be coming back and being worthy of that top 10 selection that he was. He did win a bunch of games at the end of the season, so there was some positive momentum. But yes, there absolutely will be a challenger there. Aaron Rodgers, Well, that's a very, very loaded question. And with that comes questions about Rodgers' future, of course, where he's going to be playing or whether he wants to play, and also whether they want to have that in the room with a quarterback who's now going to be entering year 3, what they're hoping, a year where he will blossom and catch up to the other guys in his draft class.
Look, I mean, that's the easy, not easy, but that's the real question here. If you bring Aaron Rodgers there, and that's been the topic of conversation, we know Rodgers, Shefty did not shut this down on the radio the other day. He said Rodgers wanted to be there a year ago, and they may have a different perspective. That wouldn't be bringing in a challenger to J.J. McCarthy.
You shouldn't bring in a challenger.
You bring in, but my point is, you bring in Aaron Rodgers,
Yep.
You're basically moving on from J.J. McCarthy.
That's where Minnesota has to have the mindset. Last year, I was anti that. Last year, I was the person to say, nope, no Aaron Rodgers to Minnesota because J.J. McCarthy, it would stunt his growth, it would stunt his development. Again, I'm a supporter of J.J. If you're Minnesota, you have to be thinking of who is the best quarterback for us available right now and go get him. Kevin O'Connell is a great coach. The NFL doesn't care about what you did 2 years ago. If you have another bad year, you're going to be on that hot seat all of a sudden, and then you're in that same situation. So as much as I worry about the stunting of the growth, nope. If Aaron Rodgers wants to go to Minnesota, and if I'm Minnesota, go get Aaron Rodgers.
What do you think?
Well, number one, my mindset is this team is in win-now mode.
Right.
They don't have time to be waiting on J.J. McCarthy, but if you have a Justin Jefferson, who I still feel like is the best receiver in the game, you have a solid number 2 in Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson, well, you need a piece to the puzzle that gets those guys the football.
Is Aaron Rodgers that piece?
Yes, he is. Or you can be Kirk Cousins. Either one of the two.
The totem pole should be Aaron Rodgers, Kirk Cousins, Kyler Murray. That should be the order for the Minnesota Vikings. Aaron Rodgers, still capable of playing good football. Kirk Cousins, I thought, played good football when he started last year. And then Kyler Murray is still so talented that if you don't get one of those two, he's the guy.
Peter.
It's interesting because there's going to be the second class or second tier of guys, and you might not, if you're a Minnesota fan, be excited by a name like Jimmy Garoppolo or Joe Flacco or Geno Smith if he's let go by the Vegas Raiders. But there will be this veteran crop at an affordable price that can go in there and just push JJ a little bit more. To Dan's point, you bring in Rodgers, it's not pushing JJ and motivating JJ. It is an absolute threat to JJ. Whether or not they're worried about that, that's the decision that they have to make.
Well, you can't worry about feelings in this situation because you don't want to get to a point if you're Kevin O'Connell where you're worried about your job.
Right.
Like, it's about winning, and can you win now?
It's health, too. As much as I love the kid, he hasn't been healthy enough.
Right.
And so are you going to bank on, one, him staying healthy, and then also truly elevating his play? Because if he doesn't do both of those, then you're in a very bad situation, and you're ruining and wasting a really good roster.
Yeah. All right, back to the NFL, and stop me if you've heard this before. The Browns have a quarterback conundrum. While at the comeback this week, their general manager, Andrew Berry, said that both Shedeur Sanders and Deshaun Watson will be among the quarterbacks competing for the starting job. Dylan Gabriel, who the Browns drafted in the 3rd round last year, is also under contract. Cleveland could also look to bring in another veteran as well. The new head coach is Todd Monken. He weighed in on all this yesterday.
Sure. I think it's an open competition. I mean, I don't know why it wouldn't be an open competition. And I don't mean that saying it harshly, but I don't think there's enough on film over the last couple of years, one way or the other, to say, boy, we have a starter quarterback yet.
Okay, so it's interesting. I'll start with you right there, Peter, because I could see the sort of the smile on your face. People, I think, are disproportionately interested in this quarterback situation that they've been trying to get right in Cleveland now for, well, at least the entirety of this millennium and perhaps longer than that. What is the sense you're getting about the quarterback competition in Cleveland?
The nonchalance that Todd Monken had in that answer tells you everything you need to know about the quarterback situation in Cleveland. Remember, they interviewed a ton of candidates and they chose him. And his response is, yeah, it's an open competition. It's nobody's job. When another option could have been, hey, Shedeur finished the season really strong and Shedeur's our guy, and let's see if there's competition for Shedeur. No, that's not the case. They have a draft pick, obviously, and they have another draft pick because of Jacksonville trading the 1st round in the Travis Hunter deal. So you can consider potentially something in the 1st round there. But you could also consider all these veteran quarterbacks. But Monken not committing to Shedeur Sanders, that's all you need to know, guys. They interviewed a ton of people, and they fired Kevin Stefanski, and Monken didn't come out and say Shedeur's the number 1. That's your answer. We could decipher all we want. That's the truth of the matter right now.
What do you think, Dan?
Of course. This is a quarterback room that has a young man who is a 5th-round draft pick who I think had more turnovers than touchdowns last year. Did some good things, Shedeur Sanders, but did some things where like, yep, that wasn't great. And then you have Deshaun Watson, who hasn't been healthy or good at football in 5 years.
Right.
5 years. So of course this is an open competition. The truth is this. If you're Cleveland and we're talking about the quarterback position, your eyes are on 2027, not on 2026.
Meaning?
Your starting quarterback for the future is not even remotely close to being in your room.
So you're talking about the very deep quarterback class of 27. So you go into this year and you play who? Shedeur? And you see if
You're
you've got...
probably sitting there thinking Shedeur has an advantage of the guys that are there now. But Shedeur is obviously going to have to play at a significantly higher level for Cleveland to sit there and say, yup, that's the guy of the future. Can he? Sure. There's a lot to be seen left in that regard.
So they have the 6th and the 24th overall pick. I believe both of those picks, they need to build around their football team. I don't believe either one of those picks should be within a quarterback or in the realm of a quarterback.
Right.
2027, it gets a bit tricky because if you start either one of these quarterbacks, I still don't think Cleveland's going to be a team that's going to be in playoff contention. Their defense was very solid last season, but I just think they're so young offensively. So you're probably going to be picking top 10 in the draft again. There are a lot more quarterbacks coming out, to DL's point, in 2020.
They got a lot out of rookies last year, so there is a lot of young talent on the team, and we'll see if they're able to get much done. Now, I want to show you this from ESPN.com because Seth Walder did a nice piece in which he predicted the Week 1 starting quarterback for every team in the league next year, and there were some interesting picks. He actually has Kyler Murray projected to start in Cleveland. He has Malik Willis in Miami. He has Kirk Cousins back in Minnesota. He has Spencer Rattler as the starting quarterback for the Jets. And when we brought this up in our pre-show meeting this morning, Peter, you immediately jumped in on Kyler Murray. What are people saying about him there in Indy this week?
Well, that one's the most interesting quarterback name on that list, and maybe the most interesting quarterback name over the next few weeks. So Kyler Murray's contract is a little bit complicated in that on the third day of the league new year, which is the third day of technically after free agency, it's in the second week of March, Kyler Murray is then owed an additional $20 million guaranteed by the Cardinals, and they're on the hook for even more money after that. If they can get out of that by releasing Kyler Murray before then, which would mean in just the next month, or in 3 weeks, then he is a pure free agent, and anyone can sign Kyler Murray for any dollar amount. Mike LaFleur hasn't committed to Kyler Murray. Nathaniel Hackett hasn't committed to Kyler Murray. And Monty Ossenfort, the current GM of the Arizona Cardinals, did not draft or give Kyler Murray the extension that he is playing on now, which tells you he might not have a champion in the room that says, well, that was my guy. Now to the Browns, we could suggest a bunch of different teams. Browns are interesting. Todd Monken, he is a football guy, and he is an old-school football guy. I'm not sure I'm putting Kyler Murray with Todd Monken as a perfect marriage, but what do I know? We're just throwing names at the wall at this point.
No team should be trying to trade for Kyler Murray. He's going to get cut from Arizona, so
right.
No one should be trying to trade for him. But if then Kyler has his choice, I think Minnesota becomes in play. I think Miami comes into play. I think Atlanta comes into play. For me, Kyler Murray and Cleveland do not make sense.
Look, we've seen Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield and all sorts of Daniel Jones, all sorts of highly drafted players have big second acts, sometimes in their second or third or fourth or even fifth teams. Is Kyler Murray a guy who could be that coming up someplace?
Talent-wise, yes, but there's a lot of noise that consistently hangs around Kyler Murray off the field. And so physically, he's capable of doing it. I just don't know where he comes to in relation to those guys and those intangibles.
I think Kyler has to get to a point to where he can complete a season, right? We've seen him for 10, 9, 8 games be phenomenal at the quarterback position, but for some odd and apparent reason, when it gets towards the end of the season, he tails off as a quarterback.
Yeah, and injuries are a big part of it. His size obviously comes in.
He also wants to always
there.
be a playmaker. He always wants to be a runner. He's good enough to become a thrower on a consistent basis.